What's up everyone, TheGame2k2 here again to complete my review of the Scary Movie franchise with Scary Movie 4. Scary Movie 4 takes the franchise in a little bit of a different direction. Instead of following one horror film story, it follows three. Surprisingly, all three came out in 2004. Its story centers around Saw, The Grudge, and The Village. Without going into too much detail, first we have Saw, which was actually an okay film. The only downside is that it spawned several repetitive and pointless sequels. The Grudge was like The Ring because it was a remake of a Japanese horror film, but unlike The Ring, it was not really scary, but impressive from an artistic standpoint. Then there was The Village, which was another okay film. My only problem with The Village was its story. While Saw and The Grudge didn't necessarily have classic stories either, at least their stories were somewhat easy to follow. The Village's story didn't quite seem all there. Oh yeah, before I forget, there's a fourth film incorporated into the story. War of the Worlds? That's not even a horror film, that's a science fiction film. Granted, the previous installments did parody science fiction films as well, but those were just meant for jokes and nothing to do with the plot of the film. So I really have no idea why the writers decided to incorporate War of the Worlds when they had already incorporated three other films that were actually horror films. Don't get me wrong, I actually liked War of the Worlds, but to me, it doesn't belong in a scary movie film. While parodying four films sounds like a good idea for a spoof, it ends up being Scary Movie 4's biggest flaw. The first three Scary Movie films parodied a lot, but chose only one or two specific plots, which made them easy to follow. Scary Movie 4 just seems overcrowded, it tries to accomplish way too much, and ends up being the hardest in the series to follow. However, despite all that, there still is some good comedy in Scary Movie 4. I like the beginning of the movie with Shaquille O'Neal and Dr. Phil in the Saw parody. Scary Movie 4 is O'Neal's best role because the Scary Movie franchise is purposely meant for bad acting, so it's perfect for him. I thought all the jokes about The Grudge were pretty funny. The shower scene I thought was really good. Also, there was another great Michael Jackson joke, not quite as classic as Scary Movie 3, but still really funny. Some of the Village stuff also made me chuckle a little bit. However, there's a lot of jokes that seem very forced in. In my review of Scary Movie 2, I mentioned how it seemed like they ran out of ideas and were forced to fill in the blanks, and Scary Movie 4 seems like it had the same problem. The entire Viagra bit I always found to be very unfunny, and the War of the World jokes were pretty poorly written too. Also, besides the beginning of the movie, the rest of the Saw parody fell very flat too, and I was very surprised by that. The Saw films seemed like the perfect series for the writers, but surprisingly ended up falling very short. However, Scary Movie 4 does have a pretty good cast. Anna Faris returns as Cindy again, and is really funny. Faris always manages to do a good job with the role, even if the jokes aren't really golden. Regina Hall is pretty funny, but unfortunately she isn't anywhere near as good as she was in Scary Movie 3. It's not really her fault, as much as it is the jokes she's given. Charlie Sheen returns for a brief scene, and unfortunately is only in the movie for about 5 minutes. And they give him one of the worst jokes in that 5 minutes. However, his reaction to the three girls in his bed is pretty funny. Leslie Nielsen returns, and needless to say, he is easily the funniest actor in this movie. The new members of the cast go back and forth. Some are good, while others are very, very bad. Craig Bierko as Tom, I didn't find him funny at all. He tries his best to pull off the jokes, but unfortunately just can't seem to do it. However, the cameos from Bill Pullman and Molly Shannon are very funny. Anyone familiar with parodies should know Pullman's role from Spaceballs, and while he is a very good dramatic actor as well, he can also be very funny. Molly Shannon isn't necessarily a newcomer to fun and goofy roles, so she is perfect for a film like Scary Movie. Overall, Scary Movie 4, while still slightly funny, is unfortunately my least favorite of the franchise. It just didn't have a coherent story, and a lot of the jokes seemed like they were going for a good punchline, but just weren't all there. Well, that's it for the Scary Movie franchise for now. Scary Movie 5 is now in the works for a 2011 release. To be quite honest, this is the perfect time to parody the horror genre. The horror genre has turned into a repetitive mess in the last 4 years with bad prequels, sequels, and remakes, so it should be easy for the writers to make fun of it. Well, everyone, that's it for now. Tune in next time as I begin my review of the recent hit vampire franchise, Twilight.